Greetings, rebel scum! This week on Rejected Movie Ideas, we're going to a galaxy far, far away to see what would have happened if George Lucas had followed up his 1977 masterpiece with his originally planned low-budget sequel. A movie that would have earned the distinction of being the most disappointing Star Wars sequel since, well, any Star Wars sequel according to the internet. As anyone watching this would know, George Lucas never intended the story of Star Wars to be contained in a single film. Because of this, he made plans for follow-up movies even before his original 1977 film came out, even though he most likely had a little idea of what those follow-up movies would be about. Enter up-and-coming writer Alan Dean Foster, who had the dubious honor of being chosen by Lucas himself to not only write the novelization of the original Star Wars, but also to write a book that the director would use as the basis for the cheap sequel to the movie. Now, I'm sure you're asking yourself, why does the sequel have to be cheap? Aren't all big budget movies supposed to be the start of their own cinematic universe? Hashtag Marvel, hashtag DC, not so much. Well, as crazy as it sounds, there used to be a time when sequels were seen as second-rate knockoffs and studios rarely put money into them, kind of like reboots of today. And since not even George Lucas himself was sure that his tale of incestuous love and Sasquatch space pilots would work, he placed his bet on preparing for the cheapest possible follow-up he could make. As a result, Foster wrote Splinter of the Mind's Eye, a Star Wars sequel that features a surprisingly little amount of stars and an even smaller amount of wars. The story starts with Luke and Leia crash landing on a foggy, swamp-like planet, where they discover an operation led by the Empire to retrieve something called the Kyber Crystal. This crystal can best be described as a shiny plot device that enhances the powers of the Force on whoever possesses it. Hence why the Empire is so giddy with excitement for looking for the damn thing, and why the Skywalker siblings have to stop them. This leads to the young rebel fighters hacking and slashing their way through an array of B-movie swamp monsters until they finally make it to the temple that houses the legendary crystal. Unfortunately for the mischievous brother-sister duo, their dad had been following them all along and proceeded to beat the Force out of them for daring to steal something he wanted to steal for himself. Not knowing when to quit, Leia actually picks up Luke's lightsaber and proceeds to use all of her Force-wielding powers against her asthmatic old rival. Unfortunately, she gets her ass handed to her in what seems to be the shortest lightsaber fight in Star Wars history. Not to be intimidated by Darth Vader's mastery of the Force, Luke is reinvigorated to fight when he hears the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and proceeds to hack Vader's arm off before pushing him down a pit, proving once and for all that the star of Disney's newest franchise is a mentally deranged man who will murder his own father if the voices in his head tell him to. Now, as much as George Lucas wanted to make the most generic possible sequel to Star Wars from the get-go, the unexpected box office success of the original movie pushed him away from his original cheap sequel plans, and he set his sights on an ambitious, big-budget follow-up that some considered to be the best film of the saga. However, despite knowing that he would not use a single plot point of Alan Dean Foster's story in The Empire Strikes Back, Lucas started his career-defining trend of blatant capitalism and proceeded to sell Splinter of the Mind's Eye as the first book in the Star Wars expanded universe. Those unlucky enough to have bought the book would have been treated to uncomfortable moments of incestuous tension between the Skywalker siblings, which I find highly suspicious considering George Lucas has 3 sisters. Aside from common sense, the other thing notoriously absent from this story was Han Solo, something that the writer unsurprisingly explained by saying, "At the time I was writing Splinter, Harrison Ford had not committed to any further participation in Star Wars. Hence, I was specifically told not to use Han Solo as a character. And without Han, it didn't seem logical to have Chewie in the book either." So, if you're looking for a Star Wars story that doesn't have 2 of your favorite characters, but instead features more sister-brother romance and mutilation than an episode of Game of Thrones, by all means, give Splinter of the Mind's Eye a read. And give us your thoughts in the comments. A used copy of the book should go for about $5, which is more than what Lucas was planning to spend on filming this thing in the first place. For more episodes of Rejected Movie Ideas, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button. For The Hollywood Reporter, I'm Heather Wake.